Fibercast. Today's date is November 27th, 2015. My name is Lynn and I'm your host. Thanks for joining, and welcome to our third week of the sampler quilt. As you know, we've been working, or for those of you who are new, we are working on a sampler quilt during Fibercast, and Fibercast is 60 minutes of us working together and getting things done, working on whatever we want to work on, just keeping each other company. As I say, we're doing a sampler quilt. This is our third week. It's designed by Karen Bryant Marinelli, my sister, KB, and it is posted online on the Simply Colorful Mystery Quilt Along, although it really isn't a mystery because we've seen all of the pieces. But we are doing it in 6 chunks, and I have to admit today's chunk, week 3, has taken me about 4 hours to complete. So we'll get to that in a minute. The 3 blocks that we're going to talk about, but not all get done, there will again be some homework, are Goosetracks, square and a square paper piecing, and then turn around, turn wheel. It's a pinwheel. I forget the name of that one. Anywho, we're going to do those 3 blocks, and again, we're going to knock out week 3. As you can see behind me, I hope, I have 2 samplers going. Both of them are Christmas themed. This one is more of the Kelly greens, and this one is more olivey greeny. And that's why I have these 2 things in front of me. I was noticing just as I was getting ready for Fibercast in the bathroom that I had this picture of a cardinal flower from several years ago that my nephew took. He entered it in a fair, the agricultural fair that you've heard me talk about in the summers. And then at the same time, I had been making fiber felted vases. Not that you put any water in them, but you knit them like you knit a hat, and you form them, and then you felt them so they shrink. And I noticed after my nephew took this picture that the colors in this were very much the same, and it was the red and some olive green, and there was even some gray and some brown. So I put them together, and I just love these 2 together, and I thought I would share them because it looks like, especially on this version, I'm going toward that same color palette. So I don't know if you do that, if you head toward certain color palettes and stick with it. Do you tend to gravitate back toward certain styles? I think I do, finally. I can remember thinking for years, oh, I don't have a style, everything I do is different, but, you know, I think maybe I'm getting there. Anyway. Welcome. Did I say it's November 27th? Did I say that it's 4 weeks before Christmas? Do you believe it? I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did, and I'll tell you all about it. But why don't we just get started on a block? And I have to tell you, Goosetracks, for those of you who are just getting started, there are 2 versions. One is a no Y-seam version with more pieces, and the other one is a Y-seam version. So I looked at both of them. I thought of doing both. I looked at my Go Cutter to see if I had any of the diagonal, parallelograms pieces to it. I didn't have any of the right sizes for my Go to crank through to cut it that way. So I went with the no Y-seam version. And I must admit, it was difficult. It took me a good, probably 2 hours, and it's behind me, and I don't love it. It's the big one. It's 18.5 inches by 18.5. It'll finish by 8 by 8, and you'll see the red in the corners. I think that's too bright or too overpowering. So after I get more of my sampler done, I may pull back on that a little bit, and I was thinking maybe I'll put back in some of this more airy white with the red and green. We've talked about it. It's all about value and balance, and right now I'm not liking how, and again I'm looking at my screen over my shoulder, but I'm not liking how the little house, which is red, is bumping up against the red square in the corner of the Goosetracks. So maybe if I, for example, do something, oh, and you'll notice I have a different chair. It's not squeaking. I couldn't get the other one not to squeak, so I am using a, see if we put that like that, it's lighter and it doesn't compete with the house above. So we'll play with it. And yet I like the fact that there is the red on the roof of my church, and I do like having the bright red in places. So anyhow, that is my first attempt at Goosetracks, and now today we're going to do another Goosetracks here, as much as we can get done in 60 minutes. And again, Fibercast is really about keeping each other up to date and you pulling out your projects, so I hope that, or just decomposing from Thanksgiving, but I hope that you're able to indulge and give yourself time to think about fiber and unwind a bit. So Goosetracks, and I want to talk about the benefits of quilting, something the article was floating around again that we saw a year ago, and I saved it out and I want to read it to you in a minute. But first, I wanted to show you what I did with the printout that is on simplycolorful.com. And it's under the 2015 Sampler Quilt tab. And all of the PDFs for all of the blocks in the sampler are there. And this is the Goosetracks No Y Seams one. And I printed it out. You'll see I don't even have a color printer. So then what I did is with my black and white, I went back to my computer screen and I literally color planned it out using the ABCs here. And I literally took my glue stick and I glued the colors here. It's a tricky one to cut out. I'm not kidding you. It's in 1/16 of an inch, so it's good to do it with a lot of good light, with a lot of good patience, a fresh blade in your cutter, but it works. It, for the most part, again, it lies pretty flat and it goes together. So just follow the instructions and it's great. And there are no Y seams. So for this one, so let's get planning another one and we'll cut it out and we'll put it together. What is it? Turnstyle is the pinwheel one. So that's the one that is very easy and is fun to do. It ends up being 6.5 inches and then it'll finish at 6 inches. So that's a good one if you're just getting back in and you want something that you don't have to think about too much and it's easy to accomplish. That's a good one. And of course the paper piecing block, square and square, is an excellent one. I thought I wouldn't do it here because we've been doing a lot of paper piecing the last few weeks. And what a hoot to see people like Norma and folks who are getting into the groove of paper piecing. I love to hear about your stories. Okay, who is out there? I just heard a ding. Let's see. Karen, hi Karen. KB, she says, Goosetracks was a challenge. Sorry for the crazy 16th measurements, folks. Oh, good. So it wasn't just us. 16th measurements. And if you have any questions, or the way that I kept straightening myself out was just always go back to 1/8 of an inch, if that makes sense. So every 1/8 of an inch is 2/16. So I would end up counting those. I'll get to it and we'll talk about it. Anyway, thanks KB. It is a cool block and it's one I'm glad I've tackled because there's so many variations. I love that. Okay, so first off I'm going to pick my colors, and I always like to go with a lot of contrast, and I like to look at what else I've got going on behind me. And as you know, my palette is my greens, my reds, and my grays. And where I had gray in the background on that one, I think I'm going to try going something very different over here. And I might go with red in the background. So let's say we do red in the background. And then, ooh, this is kind of cool. This is really lemony yellow. Not lemony yellow. Yeah, it is too lemony. It's not olivey enough, I don't think. Let's see. Here's some olive. And maybe we do that and that. And then this is kind of cool. Do that. We do that in the center. How about we do that? That. Okay. All right, I think I have an idea. So, literally, I'm going to spend most of Fibercast cutting fabric. But that way we can sort of remind each other how to cut these 1/16 of an inch and just chat. I know I have loved being up here in the studio for the last few hours. We had such a nice time. Thanksgiving is one of those nice holidays that it was a lot of work, and I could never do it without my husband and my mother who came to town. We ended up having 28 people, and I know many of you also had that many, and I don't know how you do it. For everyone who cooks everything, it's a lot. What we do is we have people all, I think I've told you, we bring dishes. Bob brined a couple of turkeys, and Mom and I went out and found a couple of ducks on Monday night. Oh, we've had such a fun week since I've talked to you. Monday night we went out to dinner, and then we went and we found duck, and the duck is not sold everywhere. We went to a few stores, but we finally found it at Stop and Shop. And it was delicious. Anyway, everyone brought we had more food. Everyone went home. We all ate, 28 of us ate, and then everyone went home with a tin of food, so that was good. Just so they can have the smell maybe or the taste and the taste. I had leftovers today that were delicious. I had such a nice morning. I know I'm all over the board here. Got up, said goodbye to my mom. We had coffee, said goodbye. Oh, and then I watched my Scream Queens. Who has watched that show? It's so funny. It's very good, and it's not scary, really. Anyway, I watched that. Then Bob and I cleaned up a little bit, and I think we fell asleep. Not a lot getting accomplished around here, but we cleaned up a little more, and then where's my... Anyway, and then I've been up here in the studio for most of the afternoon, and it's been wonderful. So this is going to be C. And C is 4 1/8 by 7 11/16. Okay. So what I always do is I cut here at my 4. So I don't know if you can see this. I know I've got 4 here, and it is going to be enough for an 1/8. And always cut away from you. You guys know that. I'm always astounded when I'm with new quilters, I must admit. And I'm reminded that you do have to learn these things, right? And you always have to cut away from you. Okay, so now with my ruler on top of my fabric to weight it down and kind of iron it flat, then I go and I find my 4 and I double check, right? We're doing C, so it's 4 1/8 wide. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1/8, and I line that up on the cut edge that I just made, and I kind of scooch it over a little so that I can see the 1/8 of a line on top of my fabric. I figure whatever your common way of cutting, it's going to be consistent on everything you cut. So if you tend to cut everything big, then everything will be a little big. If you cut everything a little small, it'll be a little small. Ideally, you cut it perfectly, and then you do the perfect 1/4 inch seam, and you measure the unit. Don't measure the seam, but measure your finished unit, and make sure, bottom line, you're coming out with good finished measured units that you want. Okay, so that's 4 1/4 inch wide. I'm going to cut another one, and now that I have that flat edge there, I'm turning it over, And I'm literally going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and a quarter. And cut that. And now I have 2 that I can layer on the top like this. With any luck, they'll be somewhat straight. So we had 28 people here. We had everyone bring their own dish. Bob made some delicious stuff, twice-baked sweet potatoes. And he made a vegetable casserole that was new. Okay, now I'm going to stop talking for a minute because now I need 7 and 11/16. So again, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to use my ruler like an ironing board. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, I keep looking at it a lot. 11/16. Well, 10/16 would be 5/8. See what I'm doing? So it's 5/8 plus 1/16. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And a half. No. 7 and 5/16. And then half an eighth or 1/16 more. And then when I have it laid down, then I remember that 2/16 is for every eighth. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, yep. And then I go. That's my method. I'm sure there are better, easier ways. Again, if GoPro had some nice... Oh. Nope, too short. Okay, so we'll use this for something else. If GoPro had some dies, I would have used those for sure. I may have to piece one of these together. In fact, I'm going to do that because I can only get one more 7 and 11/16 here. Cutting isn't as fun as flag piecing, but this is a fun one to put together too, because you put it together in phases. Here. I just put in a new bobbin and I cleaned everything, which is probably why it's persnickety. Probably due to change the needle. So, let me finish telling you about Thanksgiving, and then I want to hear all about your Thanksgivings. And let's see, so I said we had 28 people, we ate, we put everyone on card tables or these long plastic tables so we could all fit in one room. And we had fancy dishes out, we had different plates out, not plates, oh brother, flower arrangements that Mom made that actually are doing double duty. They've now gone over to Mike and Mary's for Thanksgiving today. So that was good. Michaela and Mike came over this morning and they picked up one of the tables and the chairs and then they took those arrangements. So that felt really good to double. You know how you always hate to do an arrangement for one time, which is why I have these flowers here. When Bob went over to BJ's, I think it was BJ's, to get last minute things yesterday, he brought these home. And they were great. They're so pretty, and I just wanted to show you all. Okay, anyway, here now, we have 2 more pieces. One thing that I'm trying to do with this quilt, and I think it's going to work actually, is I'm limiting, you'll notice I'm limiting my palette. So it's easier. It's like when you go to paint a picture. You don't want to go crazy with lots and lots of colors without sort of being really proficient at it and having practiced a lot, because it'll end up looking kind of muddy. But if you stick to a smaller palette, I find I make less errors keeping things looking harmonious, if you will. I still have a long way to go, but that's one trick that I've used. So what happens, though, is you have to piece things together, because I only have so many pieces of fabric in my palette, right? And I'm running out of this one. So again, I'm going to 7 5/8 plus 1/16, right? Which is 11/16. I'm sorry I didn't have this cut out ahead of time, folks. It really, like I say, it took me the afternoon to piece those three. So, but I'm loving this sampler concept because it's very manageable and you do something different. It's not like you have to do 100 of the same square. Okay, so now I want to make sure it is 4 1/8 wide. My two pieces here. Done. So there are my 4 C pieces. Okay. Now what I want to do is do one corner, one of the kind of blooms or tracks, if you will. That way we'll get a feel for what it's like to put it together. Let's see. So I think we're going to do excuse me. What do you think? Is that just too? That's got too much yellow in it. Oh, here's a good one. I always love this one. Have we used this one too much? That's okay. We can use it again. No, I like that better with that. Okay. So now we're going to do A. An A for the center. It's going to be this green. And that's going to be 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. Okay. What's this? Ooh, so remember, I think it was last week I said my cutting mat was getting awfully scored up. I love this. I had a question in my email today from my sister asking what size it is. And I was off, by the way. It's 12 by 18. What did I say? 18 by 24? Ah! Doesn't matter. It's just all worn away. Pretty soon I'm going to cut the table. Okay, 4 1/8. And then after I cut this one, I want to see who's out there. Actually, I'll cut this and then the other corners. These big squares with 8s are very manageable. Okay, there's that. That'll be the middle. And then let's do the F's. What are those? 4 and 7/16. Okay. And I only need 2 of those because I'm going to cut them on the diagonal. I'll show you what I mean. One, 2, 3, 4, and 7. What was it? 7/16. 8/16 would be a half. So it's not even a half. So what I do here is, again, I cut a straight line. I move this away, use my ruler like an iron, layer it down, and go, oh boy, 4 and 7/16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 7/16. Okay, and then I'm literally going to press it to make sure it's flat. And then this is how I did it earlier, and it worked well. I literally fold it in half, make sure it's completely lined up, and then again, actually, turn it this way. Square it off and go 4 and 7/16, right? Okay. 2, 4, 6, 7/16. There. And then we cut it in half diagonally. And that will make the 4 centers to, let's see if I can put it out here so you can see it. Okay, so far we have, that's the center of Goosetracks. Let's see if this works. And these will be, this is going to be a bright one. See that? And then this one that we just cut out is the corner. Woohoo! That's going to be bright. So what we're going to work on is we're going to cut out the pieces for each of these 4 units, and then we're going to sew those units together. And then we'll sew them together with these other pieces, and we'll web it. We'll do the webbing. So that's what we're doing, but let me check and see who's out there. I do know one of my good friends is back from her travels. Jean. Hi, Jean. Oh. The pictures of you and your family traveling looked so nice in that water down toward the Caribbean. It looked beautiful. I had more people ask me where you were. Oh, yay! Eline, hello, from Northern California. She says she's back again. She says kids are working. No one in retail gets Black Friday off. That's a shame, huh? But they're out there working. That's great. Turning up the volume and working on my crochet tree skirt. Yay! I hope you can hear me okay. Finished a doily last night to enter in the fair this coming summer. Excellent. I like that, planning ahead. Winter is a good time to sit with an Afghan growing on your lap if my fingers are too tender to do any hand sewing. That's so true. Hi, I'm so glad you've tuned in. And Peggy, down under, hello. Peggy's #1 fan cat Fibercaster. She says, I'm so excited I am live. I was thinking about my dear quilting friend in America back to the first time I saw you on Fibercast. Aw. Do you know what it's going on 2 years? I even remember what you were wearing. It was such a thrilling day to find you. Oh, thank you. Love this series of the sampler quilt. Just by way of remembrance, on one of your first shows, you were finishing off the quilting of Celtic Solstice, and I just love the colors in your quilt. Oh, that's right. Thank you, KB, for this wonderful sampler. So thrilled to see you live and I love this Fibercast and sewing with all you girls. Peg from Australia. Well, welcome. Do you remember? And I just so love what you did with your quilts and do with your quilts, the double siding of them and turning them into table skirts and tabletops. And send us a picture of what you're working on and tell us if you're caravanning or what you're doing and how your family is. So glad you're with us. And KK, hi. Tomorrow I'm going to the post office. She says, all is well in Central Illinois working on Christmas gifts. Yes, and you need scraps, don't you? She says, take care and thank you for your kindness and patience. Thank you. I'm so glad you dialed in. And again, scraps are on their way tomorrow. Strips of fabric. Beth Allen, hi. She says, I'm getting ready for the fun tonight. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving making trees tonight. This is such fun. Thanks for doing this for all of us. Beth in South Carolina. Oh, you're welcome, and look at what you're doing. Now, as a reminder, Beth is doing this at half size. So where our trees and our pinwheels are going to be 6 inches finished, hers are going to be 3 inches. I love what you're doing, and I love the house, how it's bright yellow. The lights are shining through. We can see inside, and you're square and square. Love it. I think next week, we must do one of the, I don't even know what Karen has called that, but the checkered squares that go in 3 different places. I'm kind of curious how to do that. Oh, it looks like we do strips of squares and then we cut off to create triangles at the edge. That's what it's looking like. Anyway, welcome, Beth Allen. Carol, hi Carol. She says, hi Lynn, it's Carol here from Hampshire in England. Still watch you on a Saturday as it's too late on a Friday for me. And the goal is that we're always here for you on Saturday. I don't know if you know that, but that is my commitment. We're going to do it every Friday, and Saturday in your case, we'll be there. Every once in a while, as you know, we have to record it, but for the most part, we're going to be live right from here. I haven't had a chance to do the sampler quilt, but I love what everyone is doing with it. I do too. She says, I have just finished the attached quilt for my grandson Harrison for Christmas. It's one of Jenny's designs from Missouri Star Quilt Company, along with Rob from Man Sewing. We'll look forward to watching week 3 of the sampler quilt. I love this. It's race cars. Look at this. What a fun variation of the bugs in a jar bugs or I Spy. Oh, that's great. And really all it is triangles and squares and rectangles, right? Really like that. And I love how you kept the background, the light. That's very modern. Ooh, he's a lucky boy. So again, for everyone who's out there who likes that, it's one of Jenny's design from Missouri Star Quilt Company, along with Rob from Man Sewing. So thank you, Carol, for joining us. That's great. And Jean says she's just popped a turkey in the oven, having been in the Caribbean or Mexico for a week. That's great. The house is going to smell yummy, and it's going to be so good. I'm glad you're home. Okay, I think that's it for right now. Carol, if you're out there, hi. Let's get back to making at least a couple of these Goosetracks. Where do they get these names? Okay, so now we need to cut some D's, B, C, D, to make the first version of the flower. Ooh, that's going to be so, it's almost too dense. I'm almost thinking I need to put some gray in there, slow it down a little. Or maybe that. Woo! What are we going to do here? Oh, Peggy, I think it's so cool you're on live. And Carol, how amazing is that? No, see, that's too modern for me. Houston. Okay, let's just... All right, well, we're sticking with this palette. No, I don't like that. You know why I don't like this right now? The dots are too big, and there's too much white in between, and the squares are too little. So let's say I were to cut it off and sew it. Oftentimes I'll have half of that red dot that'll be cut off in a little square, and it just won't, like say it were that red dot up against that red. It just doesn't look crisp enough for me for this particular application. So I don't, it's too big a motif for that. So let's go back to this. And this is pretty funny. Can't decide. Well, it's just too much. Okay. Okay, the stars are littler. We want to do D's. 1, 2, 3, 4 per these. Okay, D's. 2 5/8 strips is what we need. Do it this way. I'm just going to iron it. So what else can I tell you about yesterday? Let's see. All of the children are growing up in our family. So we literally had, of the 28, I want to say there were 11 kids of the 28. And they are all teenagers or in college. And we had one come back from college in New Hampshire, St. Anselm's. She survived her first quarter. So that was great. That was Mary. We had another one, and she's going back, so it's always a good sign when they come home for Thanksgiving and then they're going back. Let's see, Michaela. How's that for a slip? Mary was her mother. Michaela has transferred from Keene down to Worcester State, and she loves it. And she was just accepted to the University of Granada in Spain for a overseas program. So that is great. She's very happy and looking forward to that. And then Cam, hi Carol, if you're out there. Congratulations on your son being accepted to, I think it's the University of Indiana, right? But it's the first of several that he's applied to. And pretty excited for him and proud that he knows he has a place to go early on in the process. So I think that's everyone. Of course, we had our Clemson grad. You saw me making that quilt for Tim a few years ago. He's now working in the healthcare field. and 2 5/8. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4/8 is 1/2, so 5/8. 2 5/8. 2 5/8. And you know, like all entry-level jobs, it's not really floating his boat, but he's doing it, getting his experience in. And then his brother's still at West Virginia University. Remember, we went out there for the game a few months ago, so he was back. I think I've got everyone. 3 of them had run in the turkey trot yesterday morning. Started at 8 o'clock. I was still in bed yesterday at 8 o'clock. Let's see, 2 5/8. You know what? I'm going to do 2 in a row. Okay, so now that, again, that's a crisp cut, I'm turning it around, using my ruler like an iron, going to 2 5/8. So 2 4/8 is a half. Okay. I'm going to stack them up because I do need a lot of these. Okay. Oh, we had a fire pit out back. That was great. And our neighbors came over, and we had an aunt who hadn't been here before and her family. So there were new tales to tell. It was good. Okay. 2 5/8. So now that's 4, and now I'll make 8 by just cutting them in half. And these are D's, just as a reminder, if you're following along. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I need 8 more. So I'm just going to cut this at 2 5/8. You know, it'll be a miracle if I get this right, given all my chit-chatting in between cutting. But I did want you to see one finished. So, and there are multiple steps to quilting, right? Oh, which reminds me, I wanted to read everyone that article that's been floating around about the health benefits of quilting. So there's my D, and I'm going to lay this out so you can see what we've done so far. Okay. D. Once you get it all laid out, then we can do the chain piecing and flag piecing and all that fancy stuff, and we'll just zoom right through this. Okay, so, and then those are the other 2 for those 2. Where is my iPad? Quilting has health benefits. And this actually was submitted in February of 2014 to eZine Articles, and it's by Jill Smith. It says, Surprising Health Benefits of Quilting. You know that quilting makes you feel good, but now there's scientific evidence to back up what we've always suspected. Not only does quilting make you happy, it's actually good for your health. So say researchers at the University of Glasgow, who've published their findings in a peer-reviewed Journal of Public Health after conducting qualitative research using a local quilting group as their source. The end result? quilting seemed to possess some distinct properties for enhancing well-being that would not be replicatable through outdoor physical activity. This is my kind of article. Through qualitative research. They asked 5 out of 10 quilters who don't like to run and like to sit inside have discovered. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so it says, in other words, that's dry research speak for saying quilting gives you a workout you're not going to find in your local step class. The biggest perk? Why, when you're happy and doing something you love, your brain gets saturated with dopamine and serotonin, otherwise known as happy chemicals, especially when you're doing meaningful work using your hands. So according to Kelly Lambert, a PhD and a member of the neuroscience department at Randolph-Macon College, quilting complements these conditions perfectly. She says, get healthy and a stunning quilt. Next on the health benefits list is a decrease in stress levels. Well, that's definitely true for me. I go into the Zen-like mode, and really, especially with 1/16 measurements, you have to focus on it. It's like, car racing. They say car racing is incredibly, believe it or not, even though your life is on the line, it can be very meditative because you have to focus on just that. So, anywho, let's see. I'll read a little more. Dr. Lambert says, quilters feel a sense of accomplishment that increases your reward chemicals and decreases the chemicals related to stress or anxiety. Of course, lower stress levels are linked to a variety of good things, from a lower risk of heart disease and stroke to lower body fat. In a time when stress levels are breaking through the roof for most people, who wouldn't benefit from a little cultivation of mindfulness? Oh, here we go. Now, if you're more into quantitative proof, a clinical psychologist published research in the Journal of the American Medical Association showing evidence that quilting leads to decreased blood pressure, decreased heart rate, and decreased respiration. Finally, according to Harvard neurologist Marie Pesinski, MD, quilting is a soother for the brain. The Glasgow research echoes these sentiments, with the participants saying that quilting was a relatively easy way to embrace creativity, and the use of different colors and textures gave them a sense of well-being. So we knew that, didn't we? And it goes on a little bit further, but something I think most of us already know or have experienced, but it's always nice to see it. And I know there was a knitting article out there a while back. Okay, so we've done D. Let's get back to cutting so that we can do some sewing here. Let's do some E's. D, E. So see, this, I highly recommend printing out your pattern and keeping it right with you when you're cutting. 2 5/16. I'm going to reuse this. I think it's a little bit less. 5/16 is less than 5/8, right? Okay. I love how you can use your fingernails and move fabric around. Okay. E. 2 5/16. 2, 4, 5/16. Okay, 2, 4. These shorter ones are good to make, so that's literally going to go right there. Pretty sure. Yes. That's going to go there. There's no band tonight. It's very quiet here. 2, we need 2 more. Okay, so literally 2 5/16. There we go. 2, 4. 2 5/16. Okay, so that's that. Now let's go to that gray. I think we should do this. Oh, that's right, we need the red. Okay, all right, all right. Talking out loud here. Now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of the E's. Again, this is a big block. Oh, I have other news to tell you. We're going to have a surprise guest on December 18th. So everyone keep up with your samplers. We're going to have a surprise guest. That's it. Okay, so there's this. And now we're literally going to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to flip it around. So clean that up, turn it around, and we want 2, oh, let's do the diamonds first, the D, 2 5/8. Okay. Oh, that's awful. It's not square. Okay. Let's square this puppy up. Okay. 2 5/8. Oops. I'm not thinking here. I want to keep them all straight so that I can do the diagonal cut. Okay. There's that. This will go here, here. Then you need 2 there, 2 there, 2 there. Okay, now we need E's, and those again are 2 5/16. So I'm literally going to take this that was 2 5/8 and turn it into 2 5/16 squares. 2, 4, 5/16. We had big goings on here in terms of football yesterday, high school football. Where my mother and I went to high school in the same high school, as did my sister, so all 3 of us. And it was Needham High, and they have the oldest public high school football rivalry in the country, and they played at Fenway Park yesterday morning at 9 o'clock. So that was kind of something new that they hadn't done, and Needham won, beat Wellesley 2 5/16. 2, 4, 5. So it was our lucky, and here in town our football team won, so it was our lucky day. How many of you have football? Well, of course, here in America, celebrating it. Okay, so see, this is coming together. This is going to be a shocking one. We're going to do red there, and the rest is going to pop. I wonder if maybe I rethink this. This is just too darn much red. See how that changes everything? I could just do red in the corners, but then I think we'd have the same issue. No, because I could make my house not red. So maybe we'll do that. So this is also, I know, I'm always impressed with people who can color plan and stick right to the color. I always seem to change it. You like that? All right, well, let's keep going here. We want 2 5/16. So 2, 5/16. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so there's that. 3, 3, 3. We could do it all in this. What do we have there? Yep, this is what we're going to do. Check this out. So, just to give you a feel for what this is going to look like, we're going to audition it. And since this is the biggest block of the quilt, I think it's gonna, I'm okay with it being pretty dramatic. Okay, let's see if this works. So we have that, and then say we're gonna do this. Okay. You see that? What do you think? I think we're going to go for it. All right. So I'm going to take this off one more time. Bear with me. This is going to come together. Gotta iron it. This is like a metallic. Hope I don't melt it with the iron. I don't think I will. And just to make it easier to work with. Oh, is that someone saving me from the metallic? Oh, good. KB says she loves it. Thank you. I wish you were right here by my side. Thank you. Awesome. Who else is out there? Let's see. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, good. Lorna. Hi, Lorna. She says, hi, Lynn. Great colors. To me, they look very modern. Oh, good. Thank you. Glad you had a great holiday. I have a question. How often do you oil olive oil? Take care, Lorna. Good question. I went to a class, actually, down with Kathy in Charlton, and she cleans sewing machines. I do tend to oil a little bit every time I change. Well, that's not true. It depends. So I'm new to her. Remember, I've only had her for a few months. I did just change the bobbin, and I cleaned out all the lint, and I did oil. I put a little oil on my finger, and I put it on the hook that Kathy had told me, and then I literally turned her over, and I ran her, and I put a little bit of oil using this. I got myself a better oil can, a long stick, and I just oiled a few places. And she has us run the machine while I oiled it, and so it just felt like it ran smoother. So, I don't know, every month, clean it. Depends how often you use it. Definitely depends how often you use it. How often do you oil? I guess that's what I'm doing. I tried, in the past I've over-oiled, and I probably am on the verge of over-oiling right now, and it drips when I've over-oiled. So maybe this is someone else suggesting something about oiling. If anyone else has ideas about oiling, let us know. That's how often I oil it. And I love that you remembered her name, Lorna. I love that. Oh, and Sandra, Fibercast Week 3. She says, Happy Black Friday. Happy Black Friday. I forgot about that. The only shopping I did today was going to Walgreens. Well, good. I bet you got some good deals. Believe me, they're so enticing. The bargains are so good. She says, I've been working on a bear for the cover girls next week and my big church. I finished the trees the other night, and she says, we had a great Thanksgiving. She had lunch at her son-in-law's, sisters, and supper at my granddaughter's. How nice. She says, boy, did we fare sumptuously yesterday. Oh, we had about 25 at supper and lots of catching up with each other. Oh, I bet they were so glad to see you. She says, best regards from Sandra in wet and warm Mississippi. Oh, well, at least it's not snow yet, right? Well, happy Thanksgiving and happy Black Friday. There were some great deals. In fact, I wanted to remind everyone, if you have a smartphone, make sure when you go shopping to download the apps. In the last couple of months, I've discovered that, and there really are savings to be had because they want us to move to these apps so they can track our every sleeping moment. But hopefully also offer us a few discounts on things that we would be buying. Anyway, Sandra, I'm so glad you're out there, and Lorna, hi, and oh, this is so fun. Angela, she says, I finished my sampler early. Well, I say you did, because I bet are you working on other things? She says, I got it going and didn't want to stop. I was having too much fun. Anyway, I've been looking at Facebook and loving everyone's blocks. Well, Angela, thank you, and we have been loving yours. You have taken the blue ribbon so far with your blues. Oh, Beth Ellen wrote about the checkerboard. Regarding my checkerboard, I'm lazy. She says, so I do full squares and cut down. May not be your method, but works for me. P.S. I'm going to add my French flag to my church. That's awesome. Cool. Well, the checkerboard, it makes sense to do the squares. I think that's a great method. Angela, hi again. She says, hi from Florida. I forgot to say that in my last email, I finished my sampler the other day and thought I'd send a picture. Thank you. I must say that I am enjoying watching everyone's blocks come to life. She says, I'm loving all the different colors and choice of fabrics. It's like sweet little surprises to see all the different ideas everyone has. I know. I know. She says, thanks for doing this for us, and who can't get out and join a guild? For all of us who can't get out. That is beautiful. That's what we want, because many of us can't, or for one reason or another, or maybe the guild doesn't give us enough fix, or we want the extra community. That's what this is all about, and I'm so glad you're here. And this quilt is to die for. Okay. Everyone, look at this sampler, completed. I hope you can see that. Isn't that something? So I'm going to be curious, once we all get our samplers done, won't it be fun to practice our free motion quilting if we wanted to? Because it won't be that big. It'll be manageable. And in fact, I even want to try free motion quilting on this. I can put down my feed dogs to nothing, and I can move it around. Angela, that's just beautiful. And I apologize, I don't know who this is, but she says, I'm glad to see you're piecing another Goosetrack. Nice to see how you're laying it out. Thank you. Good, good. That's how we'll do it. And if I stop talking and get to cutting my final piece, I'll show you how easy it is now to web it all together. Oh my goodness, and I'm overtime. I just looked down. That doesn't happen very often. It's 9:09. Yikes! I told you, this sampler, week 3, will take about 4 hours to complete. So let me wrap this up. Let me see who else is out there, because I never want to miss anyone. Oh, and that was Maureen in PA. Thanks, Maureen. Yes, that's how I'm cutting it out, and I'll show you how to piece one part of it right now. Thanks for letting me know. I see numbers for whatever reason. Jean, hi again, Jean. Thanks for joining. Oh, and Lorna, she says the second red is a better choice. Thank you. She likes that better. Cool. All right, let me get to piecing one quarter of this so you can see how that works. So just as a fair warning, if anyone has to leave, this will probably take us till 9:30, because I do have to cut out squares and some diamonds. Okay. 4 1/8. Two, three, 4. And 1/8. Seven 11/16. Okay. Okay. Just turn this around. Use this like a iron. 7 11/16. It's 5/8 plus 1/16. Whoops, that's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 11/16. Okay, measure twice, cut once. Okay, there's that, and then 4 of those. It's not big enough. Okay. Oh, Sandra, that must have been yummy going to 2 houses. As I say, our neighbors come over. They eat next door or at their folks' house, and then they come over for dessert here. So they're like going to 2 places. And that aunt that I mentioned, Aunt Susie, usually doesn't come but she came up, and our neighbors have known her for 50 years. So that was really good. I mean, they were friends long before we ever were here. In fact, Rusty from across the way is 94 years old. And he came over, and it was great. Okay. Oh, what am I doing? 4 1/8. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 and an 8. Okay, throw that down. Okay. A whole hour's worth of Fibercast cutting. How unexciting. Ay, ay, ay. All right, there, and now the corners we need to do B's. 4 13/16. One, 2, 3, 4. 13/16. Okay. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then what I do to make sure is I count the rest to make sure I get up to 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 13/16. 14, 15, 16, 16. Okay. Let's put this over here. Who's there? Hello? Oh, this is great. So Jean, hi Jean, you're out there. First, I didn't read this to people. Jean says she popped a turkey in the oven, tuning into last week's Fibercast, and now she's watching this one. She says a combo of jet lag and tryptophan from her turkey. She says, I'm fading and missed some, but your samplers are looking stunning. Let me know when you are ready to chat about the raffle quilt. And she says, Z. I sure will. I hope to be there on Monday at noon, and we can pick a time after that and sleep well. That's funny. Okay, let's see. 4/16. I need 8 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Literally 2 of these is all I need. Okay. Turn this around. And then do 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty funny. 13/16. Okay. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13/16. Well, good. So if you're like Jean and you're taking naps during Fibercast, this won't seem like such a long cutting fest. And now, again, this is the B square. And now everything is cut. So let's lay everything out, and then I'm going to sew together 1/4 of the square for you. And then I promise I'll let you go. Okay. So here it is. And this is fun. It's worth it to do these cuts. At least it was on the last one. Okay, so there's that. And then this is going in every corner. You can see this. Okay. And that is still pretty bright, but that's okay. We'll live with it. And there. Okay. Working my fingers here. So you lay it all out, and then you're going to end up sewing lots of pairs together. Okay, so I'll finish these two, and then we'll sew it, and I'll show you what it looks like. There and there. And there. And there. See that? You see that? So that's 1/4. And then over here, let's do that. This and this. Do you know, every week for the last 3 weeks after the sampler, I've been so jazzed to keep sewing on this. Okay, so now we need 2 more of these. See that? Okay, now let's work on just this square. And basically what you do is you find straight edges. So the first 2 straight edges, or you divide it into 4. So these are 2 straight edges. I sew these together. Make sure, check your 1/4 of an inch seam. I'm going to sew these 2 together. And only because I've done it before, as in an hour ago, I know which seams I can do in a chain-like fashion. And you'll get to this too. Make sure in one unit, these 2 flying geese, are opposites. So make sure you don't sew them the same. If you're mixing up the color. So for example, the left-hand side of this was the red stars, and the left-hand side of this one is the gray. Oh, I love to sew. I love this part of using the machine. Okay, so here we are. And I guess I should iron. It won't take that long. So I set the seam. And then iron to the dark side. Ooh, I'm loving this red. Okay, so now I literally cut these apart and I re-lay it out. This is what worked for me earlier. Okay, see that? So now we're back. And again, we're still making units of 4. So this goose, this flying goose, needs the other side sewn. As does this one. This one I didn't do a good job of getting my 1/4 inch seam. Okay, and then this needs to go together. Okay. Set the seam. Iron it open. Okay. So again, I put it right back. And here's what I mean about the flying geese going a different way. So make sure that you have one of each. Okay, now I'm going to create 4. I'm going to cut off the dog ears. And I'm not using any pins. Once I get to pinning it all together, I did use pins earlier. This is where all the measurement pays off. Okay, and then I'm literally going to flip this over so that flip this over. Now we're going to have 4 squares that we can web together. And then I promise I'll let you go, because it's been a long week, a fun week, lots to be thankful for, lots of people to think about and wish good things for. Okay, so now we go back and we lay it out one more time. And I hope the rest of this isn't goofing us up. Okay. So see those, in fact, I'm going to move this away just so you can see this piece. And now we're going to web it together. So turn that over. Okay, don't cut it. Go to my next one, turn it over. Okay. I'm going to cut these dog ears off, because it'll make my quilt bulky if I leave all those. Okay, so now, see that? Now we're going to fold it and do one more seam, and then that is one of the 1/4 pieces. Okay, I'm going to give it a quick little iron. And there we have 1/4 of Goosetracks. So that is week 3. Goosetracks is the fun one. It comes out to be 18 inches, 18 and a half, but then it'll finish at 18 inches. The square in a square is a lot of fun, easy to do, another paper piecing. The twirling one, the pinwheel, is very easy and fun to do. Again, play with different colors, contrasting colors. Have a great week. Enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. Be thankful. I know I am. I'm thankful for all of you. And until next Friday, when we'll do sampler week number 4, have a great week and be creative. Bye, everyone.